approval of minutes, which were the minutes. So if if you could take a look at the meeting minutes, and then I would entertain a motion to accept and approve the June meeting minutes. I'm not hearing anybody, but
Motion to approve. It's Tanaka.
thank you. Okay. So we will get moving with the CMAC SEMSCO report. Dr. Bart got in touch with me earlier. There is no actual report per se. There was not a quorum at the last CMAC. The next one is coming up the week of the 21st, which is actually why this meeting got moved. But there are a number of things, I think, in front of Med Standards that are going to be discussed this month, assuming there's a quorum. So hopefully we will have some more information at the November meeting from Dr. Bart. So we will move on to the chairman report. I don't really have anything too specific or too lengthy. You'll see on there's a mention of provider restriction in the UBMD EMS portal. That's a change. Basically, I just want to make sure I notify all of the medical directors that as of 2 days ago, you can now log into your agencies, and under an individual provider, you can now add a provider restriction, which will be recorded in the audit log, and that provider's profile and viewable by other agency medical directors. Before, it was only kind of the admin that could do that, and to kind of smooth things over and make it easier for medical directors to find that information, and also to communicate provider restrictions per the REMAC policy. That change was made. So next time you're in the portal, if you use the UBMD EMS portal, please take a look. Under any individual provider's profile, you should be able to view and, if needed, add a provider restriction. I don't have anything further for the chairman's report, so we'll move on to the Trauma Advisory Committee. Okay, I don't hear Ms. Moses. We still have a Nurse Advisory Committee representative. And before we get into program agencies, Scott Lamphere, are you on the call?
I am, yep. I'm in Olean.
Okay. Okay, perfect. I understand, you have a commitment at 1:30, so I'd love to just kind of skip ahead to your item of new business if you're ready to talk about that.
Sure. So
okay,
one thing I wanted to bring up to the all right. Transport destinations seem to be an issue for some agencies in our county, and our agency in particular. For people who don't know, we're the commercial ambulance provider in our county, Allegheny County, and we're about 72 miles from Rochester or Buffalo, depending on where we're at. We provide ALS intercepts to almost all the squads, as well as a significant number of the 911 calls. Over the past few months, we've been met with resistance when we get to facilities by providers saying they're not going to accept our patient. We need to continue on to the city. These patients mostly fall into the categories of not major trauma MVAs. We had a GI bleed that we were asked to continue on to transport to Buffalo. STEMI with a transport time of greater than 60 minutes. So there's been a few instances which we've worked with the Bureau where the provider has outright refused the patient, and we've reached out at the time of the call to Chief Major and tried to get some resolution on those. I guess in all fairness, we understand that interfacility transfers are very difficult, and moving patients has become worse since the COVID pandemic. But taking our resource out of our system for an extended period of time to make it so the tertiary hospital doesn't have to transfer someone later is becoming an issue in our system. So I guess I'm just looking for a solution so that the providers are not met by resistance when we arrive at these Article 28 facilities.
So Scott, are any of these crews, like, are these all medical direction phone calls, or are you saying that when they're arriving there, the ED is trying to refuse some of them?
It's a mixture of both.
Okay. I mean, obviously I've got some I share your concern. I've got particular concern about a patient that's on the hospital property that the hospital declines to evaluate and says you have to keep going to the city. But either way, I certainly share your concern about, how long taking your transport unit out of service to go all the way to Buffalo and back impacts your operations and your ability to meet the other needs. Does anybody have any discussion on this before kind of throwing my thoughts?
I just wanted to reach out and say, Dr. Farney, I see he's on the call as well. We did have a great conversation with the cardiologist team at Strong, and there's some work that's being done. Dr. Cushman's going to help out, and Dr. Farney, we did identify some things that we need to look at overall, but this is happening more frequently than the one-off that we had discussed. So,
got it. Okay, all right. I think my initial thought is I'm going to ask the sort of the QA subcommittee kind of to reach out on the behalf of the REMAC and start looking into this. Are you willing and able to send a couple of these facilities? And if you've got individual docs, it's not, we won't obviously share where we got that from, but just so we know where to kind of focus some efforts.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think Ed's on the call too. I think he may have some documents that could help with this as well. I'm not sure.
Okay. Ed, are you here?
See his name on the list, but he's muted.
Okay. All right. Well, we can reach out to him directly afterwards. Okay. Scott, thank you. We'll start digging into this and try to make it our problem and figure out what we can do.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. So we'll move back to the original agenda. So that brings us to program agency reports, and we will start with STEMS.
Hi, so my report was attached with the agenda that Karen sent out yesterday. Just some highlights. We did hold our third installment of the EMTB Academy this summer. It resulted in 16 students eligible to test. Some have tested already and some are testing this week, and we're having some good results thus far, so we're pretty excited about that. We do have some applications in for continued funding for this program. We held quite a few classes since our last meeting. We held a pairs class with the Finger Lakes Regional Training Center. We held a pediatric restraint presentation with Ben from Oshai. We held an Alzheimer's presentation with Chelsea from the Alzheimer's Association. And we held a respiratory emergencies presentation with Dr. Shi from Olean General. Also, we have been, City of Olean Fire Department was awarded a CARES Up grant through the Office of Mental Health for suicide prevention. So we have been assisting with their grant, and we will be shining a light on National Suicide Prevention Day this Friday. So if anyone who wants to participate in that, they can.
Wear yellow.
Wear yellow. Upcoming, we have 3 presentations scheduled right now. We have an orthopedic presentation. We're going to be doing a roundtable with Olean General Hospital. They have some new faces in their leadership. Dr. Jill Owens, Dr. Henry Lamoff, and Lori Dunn. So we will be having them having a little roundtable, and then we will be doing a stroke presentation at the end of October. And that concludes the end of my report, if there's no questions.
Great. Thank you very much. UBMD and Big Lakes. Rob.
Good afternoon, everyone. Like STEMS, our report was attached. The highlights that I want to point out is One, at the end of July, we moved our office location from ECMC to our corporate office on Goodell Street. All the information is at the bottom of our report with new phone numbers, addresses, email addresses, and our website have remained unchanged at this point. With that said, our website is going through a lot of changes in order to accommodate picking up the Big Lakes region. So that's been a lot of our work since the beginning of July, is really transitioning Big Lakes over into our office. In addition to that transition, we are still sending out notifications and correspondence through our listserv. However, we've also picked up the Facebook page, and we're continuing to communicate through that in addition to the listserv. So one thing with the addition of adding Big Lakes to our region, we're going to be looking to fill a role of associate EMS director in our office to kind of fill that gap. So I would say sometime, hopefully by the end of this week, we will be getting that out. So if you're interested, keep your eye out for that, as we're going to try to look to fill that pretty quick. As mentioned, the last state meeting was in July. The next one is coming up on September 21st and 22nd with a EMS memorial actually occurring on the 20th. So if you're interested, do keep in mind that the EMS memorial is kind of correlating with the state meeting. Barring any questions out there, that is the end of my report.
Okay, thanks, Rob. I don't see a Dr. Bart, but Dr. Walters, did you happen to make it on the call?
I don't see his name on the list. I haven't seen him come in.
Okay, I know he had some other things scheduled today, so we'll table the collaborative protocols. I'm not aware of a report. I don't think there have been any big changes since our last meeting, but hopefully in November we'll hear more. QI, I heard Dr. Tanaka. I don't know if Dr. Borton's on, but anything for QA? QA?
No, nothing new to report.
Thank you. Bylaws, same thing with Dr. Bart. We'll try to dig into that. It's kind of becoming one of our legacy agenda items, but that's okay. That's okay. He's a busy man. Under any other old business that's not on there before we move on to new business? Okay. New business. So we covered hospital.
Dr. O'Brien, you cut out there. I don't know if you're still there.
How about now? Better? Kind of. Okay.
He's like old phone, like he didn't call in.
So Southline Fire is seeking support for their CON to move from ALS FR to ALS Transport. Since we have a meeting, I have a draft letter to approve that. But since we had a meeting so soon after that email to me, we can discuss it, approve it here today. Any discussion on that particular item before we talk about other approvals and summer approvals?
They have to do a con, so it's probably they're asking for a letter of support. Like they can't. It's not like any basic.
And they need a REMAC letter to support too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need a lot like a CS, application upgrade. Okay, so then I'm going to lump that into the other approvals, and we can move forward. So summer approvals that were issued: a medical director change for Canaseraga to Dr. Farney, level of care upgrade for Gainesville Fire and Perry from BLS to ALS, And then we have a list of current approvals to be approved today. There's a number of agencies that you can look at there on the agenda for yourself, moving to Dr. Ryder. Then Dr. Farney was a summer approval, and then Franklinville Volunteer Fire Department to Dr. Lamoth. Level of care changes already talked about there. I would entertain any discussion or a motion to approve them en masse.
I'll make a motion to approve Farney.
All right, a second. Just
Second, Tanaka.
thank you. And we're going to do, since there's a mix of people in person and on the phone, we're going to start with any objections. Any nay? Okay. Any abstentions? Wonderful. And then all in favor? All right. Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Aye.
Thank you. So approved. Any last items of new business before we adjourn? Okay, I will be in touch with Dr. Farney and Scott and the QA committee to kind of look into our hospital destination concerns. And then our next meeting will be in November, according to the schedule published on the website that I don't have right in front of me. But in the meantime, please shoot me an email or call me or text me with any questions. And I wish everybody a good day. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion, Farney.
Barney, I need a second.
Second, Borton.
Thank you, sir. All right, we are adjourned. Everyone take care. Have a good day. We'll see you next time.